Hello and welcome everybody, and a special welcome to our star guest tonight, all the way from Barbados, a World Cup winning captain, of course, Eoin Morgan, a man who's played, actually, I counted it up, I think it's over 400 white ball internationals for England in both T20 and 50 over, and over 10,000 runs as well. So he's in the 10,000 run club, and that's the picture, of course, which he probably treasures most, winning the World Cup in 2019. Welcome, Eoin Morgan, to the world's best cricket club. Nice to see you.
Cheers, Yoz. Thanks for having me. No, it's good to be here.
And it's a privilege to have you on. Of course, we've called it modestly the world's best cricket club, but you are really arguably the world's best cricket captain. So that certainly fits the bill. You fit the bill. You're in Barbados. You're at the Accra Beach Hotel. We're all very envious. It's freezing cold here. And you're about to set off into a series of 5 one-day international T20, against the West Indies. I mean, it must be quite tricky assembling a team. You've got Sam Billings flying over from Australia. You've obviously missing the likes of Butler and Bairstow. So it's kind of who's fit, I suppose. Who's fit and who's not tired, I suppose, is it?
Yeah, here I think certainly over the last 6 or 7 years since I've been captain, we've always gone through different developmental stages where we delve into the depths of what we think are very talented cricketers, but try and use tours like this as an actual opportunity to see guys showcase what they do in county cricket. And it's an exercise that, you have to be vulnerable in order to try and make the most of it. So you pick guys within the squad and you have to play them. You have to give them that chance that probably wouldn't necessarily do it during normal circumstances. And you have to get them up to speed with the method that we play and the mantra in which we play white ball cricket around. And I think we're very, very fortunate. I think we have a lot of young, talented white ball cricketers in our country that do unbelievably well. And probably the last 2 or 3 years, we've really seen guys go and travel outside of our shores and, really test themselves, become key overseas players in the likes of the Big Bash, the Pakistan Super League, the Caribbean Premier League. They've gone away, and the 6 months that you'd normally spend in an indoor school, say for me in Finchley, not making any mistakes, trying to groove a technique and work on your game. Opportunities now around the world are making young cricketers better because they're making more mistakes earlier and they're able to learn a lot more about their game. And by the time they get to playing to international cricket, they've played in front of big crowds. They've played every game on TV because that's the nature of T20 cricket now. And I think it's fantastic. I think it's brilliant. It wasn't around when I was coming through at Middlesex or for the first few years, certainly. But the opportunity to go and to apply your skill under pressure is great. And I think it's great for the game. I think it's a really good thing that there's an appetite around the world to play so much cricket. So during this tour, we're going to see quite a few guys that will get opportunity. And potentially with a view in mind, not to this World Cup, in up and coming World Cup in Australia in November, but the one after that potentially.
So do you look at players differently with T20 and 50 over in mind?
No, I don't think so. And the reason behind that, Yoz, I think since 2015 World Cup in Australia and New Zealand, T20 cricket and 50 over cricket has become so aligned that the type of cricket that you need to play is very, very similar. There are very few guys that would play one and not the other. I think you find certainly within our group of players, we have guys who certainly across the board, there aren't a lot of changes between the teams. Certainly when we're at full strength, there might be one or two, but it's, the style of cricket now that is played around the world in order to win a world tournament is something that certainly since I've started playing international cricket back in 2009 has completely changed. certainly the fielding, the batting, and the bowling, everything has just gone up a notch in such a, what I think is a short period of time. Go back to the 2010 T20 World Cup out here in the West Indies that we won.
Yeah.
I thought we were one of the best sides in the tournament, playing a brand of cricket that nobody else is playing. And I look back at it now and think, geez, cricket has changed so much so fast that in another 10 years' time, I'm not sure where the game is going to be.
I'll tell you what, though, it was a pretty good side that, Craig Keyswetter opening the batting, Michael Lum, obviously KP and you and Collie and people like that, and some good bowlers. I mean, Ryan Sipleton was important to that team. So, I mean, some things haven't changed in the sense that you've got, gung-ho batsmen at the top of the order. But just focusing on that sort of difference between T20 and 50 over a minute, is it a question of almost applying the same freedom to players, even though it's a 50 over game, that you do in a 20 over game, because you're not worried about, as long as you're making smart decisions, if you're keeping to your kind of game plan, you're not worried about wickets falling, really?
Yeah, I think the word freedom is thrown around a lot and always associated with playing aggressive cricket. Whereas I think I look back at a time that I played test match cricket or different formats at different stages. And I like to think the best players that I played with always played with freedom, no matter if that was Strauss, Cook, Trott, Peterson. They played with an element of freedom in their mind, and that gave them a certain confidence to go out and apply their own game plan. And I think that needs to be probably articulated better from us as players, and when we talk about having the freedom to make your own decisions. But certainly in and around our group, our team mantra and team style is certainly playing positive, aggressive cricket, but making smart decisions in doing that, which, it holds guys accountable for when you make mistakes and make the right mistakes. So it allows you to learn and be better at executing what you're trying to achieve.
By the way, I'm just going to show you this. Talking of freedom, I mean, that's one of my favourite graphics knocking around. That's your innings against Afghanistan in the World Cup, 17 sixes. You don't like the offside much, do you?
No, I need to keep reminding myself, when I'm working on my game, I am a slugger and I shouldn't ever overthink it that much. So trying to access the offside isn't something that I've
you need to get that switch. You need to get that switch hit going, mate. Over deep cover.
That's actually a good point. I haven't played many reverse sweeps or switch hits there, have I?
Well, you don't need to, because you hit it so cleanly down the ground. You don't really need to. Just looking at captaincy for a bit. I mean, listen. By the way, we'll get everybody's questions going early because Eoin hasn't got that long. But so I'll get the members' questions in a bit. And good to see a few new faces as well. So stick with us because we've got some other good guests coming up in the next month or so. Captaincy. You always look incredibly composed, calm. Completely relaxed despite what's going on around you. Have you always had that? I mean, I remember you actually, I'll just tell a quick story. I remember you at 16 playing against Chesham and sort of scratching around for a few runs in a benefit game and then suddenly whacking a ball over the top for 6 and finishing the game. And I just thought, blimey, where's that come from? And you kind of had that, even then you seemed to have an aura of quite relaxed sort of confidence, even though you were probably very shy. But captaincy wise, have you always had that composure, do you think, or have you learned it?
I think I've learned it. I don't think it's always been there. I think I've had to work on certain things in big moments of the game. So when I wasn't captain, like finding that calmness and that rationale in the middle while you're trying to chase down a total is something that, yes, came natural to me. But if there was pressure being shifted on me as a batsman, I use a mechanism where I'd always engage with the scoreboard. So in my head, I would shout out the score, I would shout out what I'm on, I'd shout out what I need, what the run rate is at, and then I'd look at the bowlers and see how many overs each bowler had left and how. So you could formulate a plan that was completely in the reality of things, regardless of what is going on around you. And that's something that I've continued to do over the years. particularly in big moments of a game, captaining out in the field. I continuously engage with the scoreboard to stay in the reality of what's actually happening, regardless of a guy bowls a good ball or a bad ball. It doesn't make a difference if it's a big six or a small six. The impact in the game is still the same. So it's something that I have worked on, and I think become better at just purely by doing it over and over again and making it a habit.
Do you ever look back at games and not analyze your batting, but analyze your captaincy and your sort of your general demeanor?
All the time, every
Right.
game. So since again, I'm always trying to learn. I'm always picking guys' brains about decisions that they would make and why they would make them and how they made them work and why they didn't work sometimes. But also one of the reasons for just for the members, myself and Nathan Lehman, our analyst, have communication during a game. Now, normally this came in about a year and a half ago, and normally a year and a half ago, we would sit down and we would have meetings together. We would pick out information. The coaches would be involved as well. We'd sort of dissect the game, where we could impact the game and try and identify when the big moments would be and try and get your big players in those big moments. So that's how it would normally work. So the decisions will be left to me and Joss out on the field. And when it came to reviewing decisions I made as a captain and why, sometimes they weren't, I suppose, it wasn't an easy review system because so many decisions are being made in the game that sometimes you might have missed something. So one of the reasons we brought in this system was both to open up a line of communication with the black and white of what the numbers were and try and implement them into a game. But also when it comes to reviewing my decision, it's easier to identify why I went with it and what the situation of the game was there and then. So yes is the answer to your question. I always try and work on my game, both with the bat and as a captain, because certainly one of the things I felt before we brought in the system was that we'd such a group, like an unbelievable group of talented players. And we always haven't had this, ever since I've played for England. We've not had the good fortune of having an abundance of aggressive batsmen, 2 all-rounders in every team that we select. Normally 2 spinners at your disposal in the final 11. And the challenge for me and the coaches and Nathan then is getting them in the right situation of the game. So it goes a little bit against the grain of what naturally you would feel as a captain sometimes. So say I was captaining you, Yoz, we played tomorrow against the West Indies and you took 5 for 10, man of the match, brilliant. And then 2 days later we play against Australia, and I know that you don't match up well against Australia, even though you've taken 5 for 10. So as a captain, I don't bowl you. I potentially don't even pick you in the fixture. For me, that's utilizing the information better than we normally would, as opposed to saying, Yoz is in great rhythm, great form, he'll adapt and he'll get better. Where in actual fact, all of the information is suggesting the otherwise. And I think, 10 years ago, you would have played and whatever.
Yeah, I'm probably not done very well. I mean, it's interesting, but I actually introduced Nathan to Billy Bean, the famous character from Moneyball, recently on a Zoom call like this. And Billy Bean said, because of his work in baseball, and I don't know if you probably read Moneyball, haven't you, seen the film, but he reckons that in the future in sport, more and more maths graduates like Nathan are going to be more influential than traditional coaches.
I agree with that to a certain extent, because in cricket and in any sport, all of the information is out there. Anybody can access it. How you implement it is the most important thing. So there are 10 IPL franchises now, all worth $1 billion, all have the same information, all going into a mega auction right now, trying to plan out a 10-year plan, as it might be the last mega auction, all with the same information, all with the same aspirations, but will have different targets throughout the auction. So no matter the squad each team comes with, I think the most effective and most successful will be the side who manages the transferring of information and tactics and articulating that to the players and making it work. So I agree with the use of the information is critical, but I think your most successful teams, Mumbai, Chennai, Calcutta, so Stephen Fleming, Mahela Jayawardene and Brendan McCullum then become the guys who implement the plan. And if they can't implement it, it's pointless. It's like any plan. It might as well be, nothing, just words and numbers on a paper.
Who is would you say, your biggest influence as captain? Who has been your biggest influence on your captaincy?
I'd say it's Andrew Strauss. When I first started at Middlesex, he was in and around the England setup. So he would come back and play. And he wasn't captain at that stage, but even getting the exposure, watching how an international cricketer prepares, talks, articulates, trains, and ultimately leads around a group that he's just was a great sort of visual for me. And certainly then playing under him over the years, there's certainly a lot of lessons that I've learned and implemented in my own captaincy that I watched him just nail over the years. And I mean, everybody who plays under him talks about how he used to communicate to players, how on point he always was. And when I became captain, I asked him, what was the reason behind it? Do you think there must have been some sort of method? As an interesting answer, and an answer like it's something that I use in applying sort of my principles as a captain. And it was just, he listens. A lot of captains and a lot of leaders come in and blurt out what they want and how they want it and when they want it. But choosing the time to deliver that message is more important than the message, because if people aren't listening, it's pointless. So every time you're around a bigger group or a couple of guys in a corner, lend your ear. You don't have to speak, just listen, take in the mood, take in what's happening. So I thought that was unbelievable advice. Very simple, but on point.
I heard him do a talk once about leadership, actually, and he used the phrase leadership from behind, which isn't quite the same as what you're saying, but sort of coaxing people and, as you say, sort of almost letting them make the decisions, kind of steering them in a direction, but then allowing them to actually make the decisions.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The best way I've heard leadership be described, everybody uses the bus metaphor of it. People, you need to get bums on seats, everybody going in the right direction, and whatever, the leader drives the bus. The best one I've heard is actually the leader is the conductor. The leader goes around, sees everybody, takes their ticket, checks in, make sure they're going in the right direction, make sure they're in the right seat, and goes up and down the bus consistently and have a little bit of a chat with everybody, even the driver. And so I quite like that.
That's a different use of the word. I thought when you said conductor, I thought you meant a musical conductor, but no, you're going
musical
on the more
conductor on a bus.
Yeah, the more
what
the more
buses do you ride on?
Well, they don't. None with a bloody conductor. Shows how long it is since you've been on a bus. You never see a bloody conductor. I haven't had one for 10 years. Anyway, listen, Simon Mann's not here, so he sent me just a couple of questions that I'm just going to read out, and then we'll get to the members. First question from Sman is, how do you keep your batting game going when you play relatively little cricket? What's your practice philosophy?
That's a good question. I've stumbled across it, to be honest. And I have to go back to 2015 during our summer, where I took a break for 5 weeks in the middle of the summer. It had been quite a strenuous winter where I hadn't stopped playing for 7 months, and just I got sick of the side of playing cricket, and I went away, took a break, didn't hit any balls, practiced for about 3 days before a one-day series that we played against Australia, and I came and got runs. And from that moment, I've developed a level of trust within my game that I don't lose it by taking time away, and I actually come back with a fresh perspective, focusing on the simple things as opposed to playing a lot and doing things for the sake of it. So I stumbled across the method a bit, but it's continued to work for me.
Have you, I remember when you played a white ball game in about 2015 or something like that, and you got a pair at Merchant Taylor's, you then threw your white pads away and hardly played a red ball game since then. Have you still got any whites?
No, I don't think I do. I think I'm getting to an age and a time in my life where I'm allergic to whites.
Standing out there for 4 hours.
Possibly 2 days as well.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, it's just I loved playing Test cricket. I enjoyed playing 4-day cricket for Middlesex while I was trying to get into the Test team. But that ship has sailed, and there's a different drive behind why I play now.
Do you want to this is again, Simon, do you want to coach, manage, or do you, when you've finished, or would you like to prefer to do something outside the game?
I'd like to do both. I've been doing stuff outside of the game now for a few years, which is great, but I also like being engaged in what's happening on the ground. And the way I see it at the moment is I haven't seen a role within the game that I'm desperate to go for or to do, but I think the game is changing so quickly that there will be different and various jobs that come up that I could potentially like, but certainly around managing, mentoring and coaching is something that I'd like to do.
Where can England's white ball team improve? Are there some new bowlers? You haven't got Archer or Plunkett now. Is that the area that you're kind of almost looking for someone to come through? And if so, who might that be?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Having gone through a full review of the World Cup, they're actually, so going into the World Cup, 2 areas of improvement that we were striving for was our power play bowling and our death bowling. Our batting had been in pretty good form going into the tournament, and if you look back at every game that we played, bar the last, we were on point. And for the 6 months leading in to the tournament, we were a little bit of victims of our own success. We didn't play in many tight games where our bowlers had been under pressure. We bowled people out for low scores and we chased them down quite convincingly. So again, it's an area of improvement that we're trying to get better at. But if you look at the injuries that we had pre-World Cup and then the injuries during the World Cup, upon reflection, we have to be incredibly proud of where we got to. Going into the last 4 overs of a semi-final, when the opposition need 58, and they only have one player that could win the game for them, and he went out and did it. It's pretty unique stuff. So I would say death bowling is probably the biggest area of improvement. The thing people need to understand is it's not just a case of somebody being a good death bowler. I think batters have advanced their game at a quicker rate than bowlers have. If you go back 5 or 6 years, you could name a handful of people that would be brilliant death bowlers around the world. Whereas now, you would probably say one. If you know some, which is Jasprit Bumrah. He's incredible. He's
Trent Bolt's
consistent.
Trent Bolt, maybe?
He's okay.
Right.
Okay. He doesn't have as much deception as Bumrah and as much consistency as Bumrah.
Yeah.
But you could say Mitchell Stark, who went to the World Cup and didn't have a great time. Bowlers, like big name bowlers, are still getting hit. That's how difficult it is.
I'll just say, you're right, but I think, obviously you're a batsman, I'm a bowler. I think bowling is limited. You're restricted by where you can bloody aim for a start. You bowl over the batsman's head, it's a wide. If you bowl it too wide down the leg side, anything down the leg side is a wide. If you bowl it way side full toss, it's a no ball, free hit. If you bowl wide outside off, it's a wide. Where the fuck are you supposed to bowl?
Yoz, these are the rules that have been applied for some time. You need to get up to speed with things.
Well, you're saying that bowlers haven't improved as much as batsmen. Batsmen have got 360 degrees to play with. Bowlers haven't. You don't agree?
Be able to reach the ball to hit it. You can't just bowl it wherever you like.
No, but Anyway, all right. Well, I
Who's
no,
going to
I,
watch
look,
that
I
game?
agree that bowlers have got to come up with. By the way, Liam Livingstone, he's my man. Not for the death, I don't mean, but just I love the
I
way
was
he's
going to
bowling.
say bowling
No, but
offies
I
and
love the way
leggies at the death is going to
I
be
really like the way his bowling has developed.
absolutely, yeah. No. It's he's been outstanding for us, and it's not come out of the blue. He's improved his game in the last 2 years and come into the best form of his life. He's confident, great attitude, wants to learn.
Yeah, good
Really,
man.
really good. Yeah, really good.
Okay, fine. Right, one final question. Did you watch any of the Ashes?
I did, yes, I did. I didn't watch all of it. We have a 2-year-old, which when I need to sleep, I do sleep. So I did. I stayed up from probably the first 2 days of Brisbane, and then where was I then? Oh, some of Adelaide. So I didn't see much of it, but I watched enough.
Do you like watching? Actually, I mean, do you
Yeah, I
enjoy
did.
watching?
Well, I like having it. I like having it on in the background. If it's a good, for me, I'm a huge sports fan. I'll always have sport on the TV at home, and if so, this is sport in general.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than watching one side uncompetitive sport. So if the Ashes was close or there was a tight game and something, I would get up at 3 o'clock and 3 a.m. to watch, but it wasn't.
No. So what would be your sport of choice at the moment then? What do you sort of really get excited about?
Yeah, so this week is the start of pretty much the golf year. So they start their flagship event in Abu Dhabi at Yas Links, where we spent a lot of time this winter, both with the IPL and for the World Cup. So I'll be glued to that for 4 days while I'm here.
St Andrews, 40 degrees, isn't it? It's sort of, they designed it like a Scottish course almost, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. It's pretty pure. It's nice. It's a beautiful course.
I've been in that lake a few times.
What else? Build into Cheltenham for when we're back. Build into the Six Nations. So it's a great time of year where we're normally not around.
You're an Irishman.
What are you laughing at?
No, I'm just thinking you're just an Irishman. Golf, horse racing, bloody, Six Nations down at Lansdowne Road. Brilliant. What fun.
No, actually ticking off a bucket list. A bucket list thing for me this year. I'm going to Murrayfield for the first time ever, so I'm really looking forward to that.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Right. Listen, time for questions from the boys. Let's have Niraj first, as you've had your hand up for God knows how long. And Niraj, by the way, this is a global sports club, Morgs. So Niraj will be in Mumbai, and it's now like 1:30 a.m. or something. But he stays up every week.
I just want to say that I am not Niraj. I've just come on there, Mr. Hughes, just to tell all the people who are desperate to ask Eoin questions, if you'd be so kind to keep your questions short, not like James Joyce's Ulysses. See what I did there, right? And also, none of that sneaky second question malarkey, because I know you like to do that. Can I just ask a follow-up? None of that malarkey. So there you go.
If we get sort of 8 or 9 in, if we don't get to you, post a question on the chat box and I'll ask them quickly at the end. Okay. So Niraj, you're up first.
Hi, Eoin. Hi, Simon. Can I just share my small story with Ian? Probably he doesn't remember that, but you came to Mumbai in 2017 at the Wellington Club, and on a Saturday, you and Otis Gibson had come for a round of golf, and I was there with my son, and we played 9 holes together. If you remember that, I know.
I do. I love the Wellington. Yeah.
Yeah, so we played a round of golf because we couldn't play. There was 2 people couldn't play on a weekend, so the marker joined us together and we played. We took a picture of us together, but unfortunately I lost my phone and I couldn't share the picture right on the chat. Anyway, it's a pleasure and honor talking to you again, meeting you after 5 years. My question is very simple. In 2015, you came and changed the white ball cricket for England, being a captain, and how things were just at the World Cup, and now seeing the red ball cricket where it is. You know the art of winning, basically. You've got the recipe or whatever the formula is. if you were supposed to or ask for a stopgap for a year just to be the captain for the Red Ball and just sort this mess out, how would you approach this?
Very easily, Neeraj. I'd tell them I wouldn't want to do it. That's the best. That's exactly what I'd be doing. I wouldn't be answering that phone call.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Right. Okay.
I like that. That's the way to do it, Owen. I like what you did there. Right. I'm bringing in. Funny enough, I'm bringing in Jackie Boy, who we know, musician par excellence, but I think he's in Chicago at the moment. So
God.
no, he's not. He's saying.
I was in Chicago. I'm not currently. I'm going to head
We haven't
back
seen
out
you
in
for
a minute.
ages.
I know. Well, it's because I was in Chicago. And it's like I could have done this at 1 o'clock. I was having me lunch. You know, as cricketers, we must understand this. But it's great to chat to you, Owen. Thanks very much for everything you said so far. I got a question about David Payne. I'm a Gloucestershire fan, and it's been a big year for Gloucestershire because James Bracey got picked for the Test squad, and now Payne as well. Like, it's amazing that finally, like, we're going to get some players picked for England. I'm not expecting for you to tell me your team for Saturday, but how is it having Payne around the squad? Like, are you excited to have that left armour in? And yeah, what's it like having him in the setup?
Yeah, it's brilliant. He's obviously had a lot of success at Gloucester for a number of years. But I think one of the most impressive things, probably, when you look at a player like that, is that he leads an attack, and he's used to leading it in attack, which, you know, we don't get a lot of the time. When you've young, talented players that come in, they're normally shepherded along by somebody else at that county who makes decisions or influences them. So when you select a guy like Payne, who's played for a long time, I think he's 30 now, so you know that he comes with a clearer mind and knowing his game inside out than possibly a guy when you select at the age of 23 to 26. So it's great to have him around. Actually, you're back a long way with Payne. He, a good friend of mine, William Porterfield, used to play down at Gloucester, and him and Payne used to live together. So we've actually spent a bit of time together over the years, which is nice. And it's great to see him get reward for putting in strong performances. So yeah, I like him. He started well so far. Yeah, he obviously hasn't been playing cricket like the other guys that have come in, but he started well.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jake. Right, who's next? Norts?
Mike is coming in. The Chris Wokes fan number 1. He thought I was going to say lookalike for a second, but I didn't.
Thought you were going to embarrass me again there, Norts.
Hi, Mike.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Owen. Thanks for doing this. Really interesting stuff, actually. You spoke about earlier in regards to like leadership and stuff. I'm currently doing a degree in leadership and management. Just wanted to know if that's something that, if you've done any sort of formal stuff since being England captain, and is there anything in place for young England players, maybe sort of identifying future England leaders and stuff, and if you think that would be something that's quite good or useful for them?
Yeah, I think it's brilliantly useful. I think everybody knows that playing in any underage sport as a kid, you're always the captain. In cricket, it should be different because you do have to make decisions that impact the outcome of the game more so than any other sport. So yes, there is I suppose a little bit more education around the responsibility and strategic side of our game coming through the ranks. I really enjoy it. I think it's been a natural progression throughout my game. Certainly when I took over officially in 2015, I was one of the senior players. So your knowledge over the years, obviously cumulatively, you get an idea how you would like things to be run and what style of leader you want to be and how you want to lead by example in different ways. And like I mentioned earlier, I was very lucky to play, I can't remember how many years under Sir Andrew Strauss. So I suppose having a little bit of a mentor or a visual of what a good leader did and how he role modeled exactly what he wanted to do was amazing. I suppose to your second part of the question, I think since we've won the World Cup, I've had lots of opportunities to go into different environments and observe and listen as much as I can. But I think the most I've learned is actually by being willing to tell our journey as a team and where we've completely messed up and how we've come back from it. And from the outside, it might not look like that, but we always are really honest with ourselves to try and continue to improve and get better. And the day we stop doing that is the day we start going backwards. So regardless of how many games we win or what we do, we always try and strive to do that. But telling our story of the system we use to try and make that process shorter than other teams use is when I learn the most, because it's a bit like reading or listening to informative podcasts. You don't learn anything from somebody saying, I am the best, I always have been great, I never made a mistake in my life, I am great, all this sort of thing. You sit back and you go, that was terrible. But you've not learned it. You want to learn something from somebody who's made mistakes, so then they can share it. So then you can listen and half experience it. It doesn't mean if you get into that situation yourself, you're going to make the same decision. It's just more informative and interesting stuff.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes.
Sorry, go on, Mark. Sorry, Carol.
No, I was just saying, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Does it interest you, that area, Morgs, like, training future leaders in sport, cricket?
Yeah, it does. We so pre-COVID, we started to get a group of players within our squads together to just sit down, have a bit of dinner, and have a bit of an agenda around what leader they would be and how that would look and how they would conduct themselves. A good question is always to start with, what would you change in this setup if tomorrow you became captain or coach? And just like, people never really think like that, but it's always a nice way of saying, right, well, you get guys that say, right, well, I get rid of compulsory training. I'd make everything optional, or I'd make certain things compulsory, or I'd cut out this. And then it starts to evolve from there in how people view decisions once they land on your lap, as opposed to making decisions or comments when there's no responsibility attached.
Is there something that you wish you could have done 5 years ago in that journey, to speed it up or something, maybe?
No, not at all. I think actually our process has been accelerated at a rate that I thought that the way that we played and the way that we progressed in 2015 and early 2016, in my eyes, shouldn't have happened until 2018.
It was a seismic shift, actually. Yeah, it was. And I can remember on my notes, one of the most significant things was, it was just don't get in the way. Don't get in the way of players.
Now, Tom Jones. Tom Jones is in the house. Sorry, Tom Jones is in the house.
What do you mean?
There he is.
Is he?
Yeah, there he is. Hello, Tom.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My question was going to be very similar to Mike's, because my background is in leadership development, but also from a cricket coaching perspective. My area of interest and experience is almost exclusively with junior cricketers, not necessarily exclusively in county age groups, so not necessarily at the elite level, but at club level and school level. So I'm going to change my question slightly and pick up on a word that Eoin mentioned much earlier in the conversation, which is to do with vulnerability. And for teenage boys and girls who are playing sports at a level, whatever that level might be, what's your view on how to coach or lead a teenager down that path of being comfortable showing that vulnerability? And we all know how cricket exposes that quite, on regular basis. But so what's your idea and thoughts on coaching or teaching or helping youngsters share their vulnerability?
Yeah, to be honest, it's a difficult question to answer, because I haven't coached or led teenagers, and I can imagine how difficult it is, and I can imagine how the landscape changes on a daily and a weekly basis of the challenges that they go through. But certainly from our side of things, when we talk about being vulnerable, we use the word courage with it, because the two of them go hand in hand. In order to show courage, you need to be vulnerable. So being courageous, you put yourself out there, you make mistakes, you're always being judged. And then there's the vulnerable bit, and then there's the learning. So you need to, that cycle repeats itself in order to try and learn as much as you can. So I think how the word vulnerable is used is part of the learning process, but also, you know, framing it around being courageous is quite a really strong word to use, instead of when everybody associates the word vulnerable with weakness, whereas it shouldn't be at all. It's about having that uneasy feeling about throwing yourself out there and trying something new, and not trying to make a mistake, but being able to make the mistake and come back, showing courage to address the mistake, and formulating a plan to try and fix that, and then the process starts again.
Yeah, which links to the whole topic of resilience, and developing personal resilience from a young age. And again, in that vulnerable stage of a youngster's development, I think that's a real challenge for coaches, teachers, parents, and leaders. But thank you for your insight.
Thank you, and good luck.
Who's next? Jacob, is it?
Omar's coming
Omar,
next.
yes. Go on, Omar.
Hi, Simon. How are you doing?
Good. You good?
Hi, Owen. Thanks for doing this. My question to you is, where do you stand on this red ball versus white ball argument? Do you think it has been too skewed towards the white ball? And do you agree with the argument that pundits say that Joe Root hasn't had the resources he's needed, whereas you've had the resources you've needed? That's the argument that people have stated anyway.
Omar, that's a poor argument. My opinion is exactly where I'm sat at the moment, and it has been for as long as I've played international cricket, or even cricket itself. Test match cricket has always been the priority. Ever since I've been captain, ever since I've played for England, ever since I've played county cricket, red ball cricket has always been the priority. And I think at the moment, when the game is going through a tough time, people need something to blame. But certainly the resources that the test team have are in abundance, and they should be. Test match cricket is for our elite player. And it's quite ironic. I'm sitting here in the West Indies with a squad of 17 players that 7 of them 3 months ago might have not thought that they'd ever be picked for England. And this has continued to happen over the course of a number of years. And I think it's the way it should happen. Test match cricket should always take precedence over white ball cricket. I think given the success of the white ball team, potentially we get credited a lot more, which is right as well. We work hard and we strive for things that other England teams haven't achieved over the years. But certainly when it comes to resources, have them in abundance.
Brilliant. Thanks, Owen. Cheers for that.
I think this whole thing about red ball, white ball is ridiculous, actually. I mean, it's cricket, isn't it? And with the fact that we've played well at white ball over the last 6 years, and it's put the game on a pedestal, it's attracting the younger generation because they haven't got the time to watch a test match. A lot of people haven't got the time to watch a test match. So I don't see why red ball should be the priority, actually, particularly. I think it's just important that people play cricket, is my view. So, the last thing to do, I'd be blaming white ball cricket. I think white ball cricket has actually enhanced red ball cricket over the world. So, anyway, it's not my forum. Right.
Hello, as Nort said, little production duty. Mr. Eoin Morgan is a World Cup winning captain. He has got 15 minutes.
Yes.
So you better make a call.
Right. So one more question, and then we'll do the quiz, and then we'll have a couple after. Okay.
Oh, oof, that's who's.
We'll rattle through the quiz easy. So who's next?
Evening, gents.
Hi.
Evening, Morgs.
Hi, Rob.
Evening.
Quick question for you. How much say do you have on selection? So take the COVID incident last year. Did you have an input as to who was going to be called up as replacements, or was it sort of taken out of your hands? And Ben Stokes did that side of it when he led the side.
When Ben took over as captain.
Yeah, because I know, do you sort of have a say on all your selections, or do you, when the COVID obviously hit and they had to have a new squad overnight, do did you have any input into getting the players, thinking, 2-3 series ahead, or, I want to have a look at them, or?
So the way selection works, I sit in selection with whoever the selectors might be. At the moment, it's Chris Silverwood. We have a number of guys who are analysts and scouts, and we have the full scouting report from the whole of county cricket. And normally before any official or final meeting, we will have had at least 10 conversations around the type of player that we're looking for, and guys that have been on England watch. So you will have scouts that will have gone to games that they're playing in. They will have filed reports and talked about things outside of the runs that they've scored or the wickets that they've taken. So when it comes to the final selection meeting, there are probably 1 or 2 positions that are spoken about, but the rest is already ironed out. When COVID hit, selection would have gone along the exact same premise. So I was part of it, but I wasn't there on the final say, because again, it was rallying around who was available at the time, where they were, had they been tested, do they have time to be tested and come back in. But the squad of players that was selected, I thought we were really lucky in the fact that they all came in and still played the same brand of cricket that we'd been playing for 4 years. And I actually think it's the biggest compliment to us as a group of white ball cricketers who started in 2015 and won the World Cup in 2019, is that the next generation of England white ball cricketers are now taking the game on as much as we do, and potentially even more so. So that's.
So was there any players from that squad who took you by surprise that wasn't on your sort of immediate radar?
It's very difficult to be taken by surprise given the system of recruitment that we have in place. And everything is online, games are streamed. So yeah, it's almost impossible for something to catch you by surprise. If somebody puts in a really good performance at the Under-19 World Cup at the moment, there's a strong chance that we've already heard of them and watched some of the footage and earmarked him potentially in 3 to 5 years as one of our players.
Great, thanks, Morgs.
No worries, thank you.
Great, thanks, Rob. Right, and so we'll have a couple of questions at the end. Anyone else who wants to, whose burning issue is to ask something, put it on the chat box and I'll read it out quickly at the end. So the next thing is we're going to do this quiz, Morgs. So the quiz is called How Well Do You Know Yourself? It starts with a bit of music. We have this months, we have a different round. The last round, well, the current round rather, is this one. The leader currently is Farby with 9 out of 10.
Oh, well done, Farbs.
He did well. We helped him a bit. Nick Compton 8. In the previous rounds, the winner was Collie, who got 10 out of 10. And also, who else got 9? A couple others got 9.
Livingstone won 1, didn't he?
Alistair Cook only got 4. He's the one that you got to beat. And it's 10 questions.
Right.
I'll get going with them. And it's obviously, they're questions about you. So question 1. And by the way, if you get it right, you get this. So you'll recognise the yes answer buzzer. He's got it! And the wrong answer is this. Okay. Question 1. How many did you make on your first class debut against Scotland? 3-day game.
Oh my God.
I'll give you a clue.
1?
It wasn't many. It wasn't many.
1?
Try again.
None.
He's got it! Correct. 1 out of 1. I'll give you that. So question 2. On your first class debut for Middlesex, first class debut, which member of the England coaching staff was also in that Middlesex team?
Oh, Chris Silverwood.
He's got it! Correct. That's an easy one. Right, 2 out of 2. Question 3. The 2019 World Cup wasn't your first successful major final. What was it? What was your first successful major final?
Playing in?
Yeah, you played.
Oh,
yeah.
2010 T20 World Cup in Barbados.
No, there was something before that.
Oh, 2008. I thought we were talking about international cricket.
We are talking
2008.
about, no, we are talking about international cricket.
Oh, outside of white ball cricket.
Well, I don't. Yes, actually, sure. Yeah.
It would have been an intercontinental. I think it was called Intercontinental Cup for Ireland. It was like a 4-day tournament.
And you beat, who did you beat in the final?
Kenya.
Kenya, correct. I'll give you that. It was the Intercontinental Cup, and Ireland beat Kenya in the final in Windhoek.
Yeah, Windhoek, Namibia.
Namibia. Okay, right, you got there in the end. 3 out of 3. Right. Okay, next question. This is a picture question, as it were. Sorry, I just got to close one thing down. Right, so this is a picture question. You've got to tell us what happened next, okay?
Okay.
What happened next?
Oh my God, I recognise it already.
So what happened after this? What happened next?
This is my ODI debut for Ireland against Scotland, and I'm on 99 right there. And then the guy at the other end is a guy called Kyle McCallan that called me through and said yes. And there, right there in that moment, he's about to say, no, get back.
Okay, I think we'll probably find that you're right. Let's see. I love the reaction afterwards. That man just patting you on the shoulder. See you later, mate.
Absolute heartbreak.
99 run out ODI debut. He's got it! You got the answer right anyway. Correct. You're doing well. 4 out of 4.
Very surprised about this.
You're very surprised. I've lost the questions. Hang on. Right. Question 5. How many stumpings in your first class career?
I think I've just won.
He's got it! Correct. And you must tell us who it was and how it came about.
I think it was Murray Goodwin. Is that right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's Murray Goodwin. And the bowler, this would be a great quiz question, was David Nash.
So it was a good high standard of cricket then.
We were setting up a run chase, and it was one of those declaration bowling, so I took the gloves. Ed Smith actually bowled in that game as well. At Southgate, yeah.
Okay. Right. Well, you got it right anyway. Correct answer. One stump in your first class career. Never would have believed you got any, but there you are. Okay. Question 6. So you got 5 out of 5 so far. Question 6. Have you got more first class or ODI hundreds?
Oh, that's easy. ODI.
ODI is correct. He's got it! 14. That was an easy question, actually. I can't believe I gave you that one, really. 14 ODIs, 11 first class. Correct. 6 out of 6. Okay, this is going to get a bit tougher. How many T20 teams have you played for, including England?
Oh, my God.
And this has got to be within one. This has got to be.
Within one. 9?
It's 12.
12. I was going to say 12.
Including England and London Spirit is 12. Well, okay. First one wrong. Still doing well. So you got 7 out of 8. Right.
6 out of 7.
6 out of 7. I always get the counting wrong. Question 8. Who has hit more sixes in T20 matches? MS Dhoni, Joss Buttler, or you? Who has hit most sixes in T20 matches? That's domestic matches. MS Dhoni, Joss Buttler, or you? Have we lost him?
No, I'm here. I'm thinking. Sorry.
Oh.
I think it's me.
You sure?
Yeah.
He's got it! You have hit quite a few more, actually. You've hit 349, and Butler's hit 309, and Dhoni's hit 305. So congratulations.
I know that I had more than Joss, but I wasn't sure about MS.
Yeah, very impressive. Okay, 7 out of 8. Very good. Question 9. Who has the higher international T20 strike rate, you or Chris Gale?
Oh, Chris Gale. What's his strike rate?
Incredibly close. Gale 137.5, Morgan 137.64. So you have a 0.14 strike rate higher than Gale. So you can give him that when you see him.
He's retired.
He won't be playing anyway. Well, I'm just damn right. He will. He'll be in some rum bar somewhere, probably watching, won't he? Okay, so you didn't get that right, unfortunately. So it's 7 out of 9. So you need to get this really to sort of save your make your score decent. 7 out of 9. Question 10. Have you got a higher win ratio as ODI or T20 captain?
Oh. I'm going to say ODIs.
You got it! He's got it! You got it. 60% ODI, 58% T20. Pretty close, but you just shade it in the ODI. So congratulations, 8 out of 10. Cool. Right, we've got we've got 5 minutes left, right? Before we ask 2 more questions, you have to do one thing. This is a signed copy of the Cricketer magazine World Cup winning issue, signed by you. And I meant to ask you before, you have to ask the members a question that they can't look up to get this, to win this. So,
oh wow,
can you make up a question like, what is the highest score you've ever made in any cricket or something? Is that an interesting answer, or what's your best bowling? I don't know. What's the most wickets you've ever taken in an innings or something like that? Have you got like a cryptic question with a simple answer, a numerical answer?
That they can't. How that they can't.
Well, it doesn't matter.
It.
They can look it up, but
All right, it doesn't matter. Okay, easy question. How many times have I kept wicket for England?
Well, that's a good question. Okay, right. So on the chat box, answers please, quickly as you can, and can you look at them, and we'll announce a winner. Can you see the answers there?
I can see the answers across the bottom.
Has anybody got it right?
Yeah, Amanda Vaughan just popped up. Is that right?
Where's that?
Somebody's just put 1.5.
1.5.
Yeah.
So who was it? Amanda, did you say? Help me out here,
so the correct answer. You want the correct answer, Mark?
Yeah, the correct answer
is 2. I've kept twice. 2 Champions Trophy games in South Africa in 2009. One against South Africa and one against New Zealand.
Controversially, David Plum.
David Plum. Then I make it. David Plum has won the signed picture. So well done, David. Will you make sure you send us your address? Thank you very much. Okay, well done, Owen. Great answer. Okay, so 2 more questions. So you want to pick a couple, Norts?
Yeah, just a quick question. You know, when you took over in 2016, I think it was, obviously England played a different brand of cricket in ODI format, and obviously you came in and played that kind of not risky, but managed risk, kind of carefree, exhilarating cricket. Now I'm just wondering, that kind of seismic shift, was there any kind of challenge that you had, within the leadership group or amongst the team or anything like that, or was there any kind of opposition, in regards to that kind of new brand of cricket?
Yeah, it's a good question. There wasn't a lot of, I suppose, opposition against it, and the reason behind that was because the 2015 World Cup that we were bundled out, there was a drastic difference between the way that we played cricket and the way that the top 4 teams that qualified for the semi-finals played cricket. And one of the important things that we spoke about that was going to be a challenge throughout this process of transition for our leadership group was that the first time that we fail, or the second time, or the third time, that it doesn't come off, because we were going to play a risky brand to start with. It would take a period of adjustment for all of the players. But the first time that question mark around getting bowled out early or playing too aggressively. It was important for us to always reiterate the same message and think long term, because in order for it to work, we needed to be able to take pressure away from players in taking risky decisions or aggressive decisions, and encourage them that it is the right way to win a tournament, either Champions Trophy 2017 or World Cup in 2019. And giving that reassurance built trust with the player, and also displaying that the player who was in power of the position that they were in was going to be entrusted for a prolonged period of time, and not just trusted for 5 or 6 games and then we're going to try somebody else. It would have been a considerable amount of time, given the change and transition that we wanted to go through.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Paul Morley, you're going to talk about the toss quickly, aren't you? Quickly ask your question about the toss, Paul. Sort of sub it down a bit.
Yeah, very quickly. Thank you. Yeah, just talking about the importance of the toss, really, which I think in the longer form of the game, a lot's made of it, and probably quite rightly so. Going back to that morning on the 14th of July 2019, it was a grey, miserly day. The template for success in the tournament had been to bat first and defend a total. In a sliding doors moment, if you'd have won the toss, what would you have done? And how certain behind that decision would you have been percentage-wise?
It was about a 60-40 call. I can remember it because I still get that uneasy feeling. It was the worst part of my day. I've played at Lords since I was 16 years old. I know conditions better than anybody else. And 15 minutes before it's also rightly you say, it started raining. And when we eventually got around to the toss, we were standing out in the middle, and I put my thumb in the wicket and it made a dent. The wicket was soft. It was still a little bit cloudy, and you always bowl at Lords if that's the case. So we would have bowled. But it was a huge decision, one I'm glad I didn't make, because cricket is a strange sport anyway. I love it. But the influence of the toss influenced the mindset of the players, regardless if the wicket is good, bad, if it swings, if it doesn't, if it nips, if it doesn't. It can influence how people try and go about their business. So it can be a bigger decision potentially than in other sports.
Do you think it could be abandoned in IPL if you've got due and stuff? And it seems to make it unfair almost sometimes, that.
Well, you need to strike a balance then. So we play. The reason we play in these tournaments is because it's pure entertainment. You want the fans to watch it. It's on at that time of the evening. So when somebody gets home from work or school, they can sit down and watch it. So you have to sacrifice that, which I wouldn't. I wouldn't sacrifice.
You do have to sacrifice it. The trouble is, if you don't have a contest, if it's predictable, then people won't watch it so much. I suppose that's the one problem with it. 2 more quick questions. Terry Blake, the former chief exec actually of the ECB, do you think it's practical for a county or franchise to play red ball during the day and short form 100 in the evening? Can that work? County championship during the day and the 100 in the evening. Could that work? I think it could, personally.
I don't think it could. The reason for doing that would be to get our players playing, I suppose, in the middle of the summer. When we're talking about a tournament that we're having, the tournament only goes for 3 weeks. The quality of our summer goes for 3 months. We're not sacrificing a lot. The issue is, counties want it all. You can't have it all. So I think that'd be a really bad idea, because ultimately you're taking away the best players that we have to play in a short format game.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think the 100 is brilliant personally. But it's a branding exercise more than anything. People have got to get that into their heads, and I'm going to keep batting on that point until they get it into their thick skulls. Final question: could you point, Alexander Cole says, could you point to a sliding doors moment in your cricket career that has changed or defined your path?
I don't think one moment. I think a culmination of certain decisions or performances or groups or teams that I played in have culminated in me being in the position I'm in at the moment, which is an unbelievably lucky position that a 10-year-old Eoin Morgan wouldn't believe his luck if he was looking at me right now.
I'll give you 2. Andrew Strauss's call to make you official captain, 2015, and John Embry telling you off for swearing as you're walking up the stairs.
Two good points, but there are other significant ones as well along the way.
Okay.
Yeah, but good question.
All right, great. Alexander, thanks for that question. Eoin Morgan, thanks very much for your time. Slightly run over, but apologies keeping anybody waiting. Thank you very much. Fascinating and brilliant just to hear you talking about the things you've experienced, and your contribution to the game has been absolutely amazing. So thank you very, very much. Both as a batsman and a captain, by the way, and an ambassador. So, you know, you should be incredibly proud, and I know you are, of what you've achieved and what you'll continue to achieve.
Thanks,
So
Jules.
thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Very good. Very good luck in the next couple of weeks. Don't work
Really
too hard.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Cheers.